This clip covers WellSeeker Pro's 3D plot functionality. In order to view a 3D plot, like any plot, you need to either have a survey, actual wellbore, plan or planned wellbore open. In this case, I've selected a survey. I can then open the 3D plot by either going to the toolbar, 3D View, or to Plots, 3D View. This opens a separate tab in the main UI that then shows us the 3D View plot. Within the 3D plot, you can change the angles by left-clicking and dragging to rotate around the center point. You can zoom in and out using the mouse scroll wheel or the plus or minus keys on your keyboard. You can also shift the center point in which the plot rotates by holding down Shift, left-clicking and dragging. If you want to change the physical appearance of the 3D plot, you can go to the chart properties by going to the toolbar and selecting chart properties, or by double left clicking anywhere on the chart itself. This opens the chart properties dialog. This dialog is the same as for all the other charts, but specific options just related to the 3D plot are in the top right section. In this case, I'm just going to turn on some casing symbols and make my worksite radius 20 meters across and hit OK. So you can see the changes have come into place. There is also a right-click menu available with separate options that are specific just to the 3D plot. For instance, orientate to north will orientate your plot to north when you click. The right-click menu also allows you to center on survey. So this will zoom in to the wellhead or the end point of your plan or survey based upon the options that you've got selected in your plot defaults. From here, once you're zoomed in, it rotates around that center point, and you can use the up and down arrow keys on your keyboard to move up and down the wellbore. You can see here that as we move down points, you see the updated positional information. You can zoom in, zoom out. Equally, you can have an animation played of fly down wellbore. So this automatically scrolls down for you. You can change the speed at which this animation plays by using the up-down arrow keys whilst this animation is on. I can slow it down, or I can speed it up. In order to cease or pause the animation, hit the spacebar. I want to just center back on survey. In order to demonstrate the other functions, show closest approach and north reference distance, I have to enable my offset wells. So I'm going to go up here and toggle my offsets. And what we can see here is my offset wells on the pad. If I zoom right in at my wellhead, you can see that we are centered on this well, and we are offset, so our reference well is my surveys, and the offset well is an actual wellbore number 1. If I right click and go show closest approach, it will create a line between my planned wellbore and my surveys, so the reference versus the offset. To change the offset that this closest approach is related to, use these arrow keys on your keyboard. And as you can see, my closest approach line is changing to different wells. So as you move up and down the wells, you can check your closest approach versus all the different offsets. If you want to change your reference well, then you use the left and right arrow keys on your keyboard. I'm going to keep it as my 8.5-inch surveys, and in this case I'll keep my offset as my plan. So in this way you can scroll up and down. If you want to change the line thickness at any point, you can use these emblems here to make them fatter or make them thinner. The worksite itself, because we're vertical, is, I'll show you, once we get down to a portion where the inclination isn't 0, the worksite begins to tilt out. Okay, so you can see here, we've got this section here that always remains horizontal, so you don't lose your bearings, and this section orientates to the inclination and the tool face. If I select north reference distances, we can see down here the north references change from high side referenced to north referenced. Next thing we're going to look at is adding on projections. So I'm down at the end of my surveys here. In real time, you can add projections within your survey dialog that will then be displayed on the 3D plot. So I'm going to go back to my surveys. I'm going to go to Tools and Project Ahead. In this case, I'm just going to do a quick adjust closure length, and I'm going to go 100 meters into the future, trend over the last 3 surveys, and calculate. Add that to my survey. And we can see now we've got a green line added in here. If we go back to our 3D plot, this has updated in the 3D plot as a green line. And we can scroll down that green line and again look at the distances. Another function that the 3D plot works well with is the real-time anti-collision dialog. I go back to my surveys, open up my real-time anti-collision dialog, and select my 3D view again. If I move up and down, you can see that this point of interest references directly to what's on the 3D plot, and this will update my center to center, tool face offset high side, tool face offset north, and if I select calculate separation factor, it will also update the separation factor information. So in this case, I'll move just back to the surface, I think. When we have something that falls out with our warning levels parameters, it will be highlighted in red. As I move down the well, you can see this point of interest updates. So this would normally be used on a separate screen, but it's on this one screen for the purposes of the demonstration. This completes the brief overview of 3D plots within WellSeeker Pro.